I'm live. Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Armando Jacox. I am a roofing company owner here in beautiful Denver, Colorado. I am also the owner of a boutique-style video marketing agency. And, I love making videos. I love making content. And I especially love interviewing very interesting people. And today we have a very interesting guest. I'm really excited to interview Jamey Vumback. He is the founder of Get The Referral, which is a mobile app for contractors to land more jobs. So we're going to kind of go through his entrepreneurial journey. We're going to get into some of his personal life. Let's see how much he's willing to share. And so I'm really excited to share this show with you today, and we will see you in just a moment. Let's cut to the intro. So we're back, guys. I just want to share a couple things. This morning was my son's first day of preschool, and he's only 3 years old. My wife and I just believe strongly in early childhood education, and we got him started on preschool. He's only going 2 days a week, but they're two like full days, so it's kind of a lot for my son, I still call him Baby Sage, but he's not quite a baby anymore. And, it's just such a special time, like walking him up there. And like, I remember I used to, like, when I was younger, years ago, I would drive by that same preschool and I would see parents kind of walking their children there. And I just thought to myself back then, like, I wonder if I'll ever do that. And like, here I was like doing that. And the same preschool that I had no idea that like that place was the preschool that we wanted to go to, and it's a really good school for kids and stuff like that. So I was just really happy to do that. Very special time this morning. And then my other son started first grade a couple weeks ago, and he is really enjoying that as well. And just having my two sons in school is just crazy. Especially with all the things that are going on in the world, it's nice to at least have those special moments. And speaking of things going on inside the world, like I try to put on a happy face for this show, but I mean the truth is also right now in Hurricane Ida, there's like a lot of very just devastation going on, in the weather, and so it kind of I just can't like ignore that. Like Hurricane Ida has caused a lot of destruction. I have friends, colleagues in New Orleans right now who are kind of working, helping people out. They have like no power whatsoever. There's not really any cell service. It's pretty bad. There's a lot of property damage all over the place, left and right. There's like, I haven't heard any reports of any fatalities. Hopefully that is not going on. But, that is, I just want to acknowledge all my friends out there that are really working hard to make a difference. TJ Ware, Brad Gardner, bunch of other guys that are out there making a difference. So thank you guys for doing that. Thank you for, all that you do out there. I know my friend Derek Klein is out there. And so, just be safe, you guys. And, anything I can do from all the way over here, let me know. So anyways, with that, let's kind of like start getting going on things. So keep in mind, this show is live. There's no editing, no filters, no anything. And really, it's made possible by our sponsors, really. And, Get The Referral is one of our sponsors. And also Velocity Public Adjusting is one of our sponsors. Jack Hanks over at Velocity Public Adjusting was one of the first sponsors, first guy to believe in this show. And, if you need a large loss assistance, I think he's over in New Orleans right now helping people out. And then there's also the Roofing Academy. Randy Brothers is also a friend of mine, and his Roofing Academy, like if you're a roofing contractor, roofing company owner, you really should reach out to Randy because he has like a systematic way of like growing your business and making it so you're not like working 15 hours a day on the business. I actually worked with him. I've learned a lot from Randy personally with my roofing business, and I highly recommend using the Roofing Academy. And then we also have roofers helping roofers. Jonathan Sherwood, one of our newest sponsors. It's really awesome to have Jonathan Sherwood. I've been trying to work with him in some capacity, for years, because he's just such an amazing guy. And he has roofing helpers. He's the president of Helping Roofers, which is really just kind of a way for him to kind of give back and help people out. He's helped my company. He's helped guys at my company, and I know he helps a lot of people all over the place. So if you have a roofing job and you're not quite sure where to go to it, you've kind of gotten a good lead, and it's a big job. You might be feeling like you're getting a little in over your head. You really should contact Jonathan and see if you can get some help from him. I know he has got so much going on, but I'm sure he's always willing to help. Just always open, such a good guy. So really excited to have Jonathan as one of our sponsors. So let me see here if we have Jamey on the line now. Kind of test things out here. I got to throw the headphones on. I really should. Okay, we're gonna cut to a quick break right here. Just give me a little time to get ready. No, I don't. Oh, I can hear myself. Jamey, you there? I don't hear Jamey yet. Jamey, can you hear me? Not getting anything from Jamey. I see Jamey on the Contractor Weekly. Oh, Jamey, can you hear me? I can see you. This is what's so crazy about live. So I think I could see Jamey talking, but I don't think he can hear me just yet. He might be able to hear me. I can't hear him. That's definitely for sure. So we're going to kind of get this figured out here, guys. And that's kind of the fun of, being live, is that sometimes there's some technical difficulties. You got to kind of work through them. And, and the thing about what we do here with live streaming, it's really different than like going live on your phone. Like live streaming, we use it's called open broadcasting software. So it's OBS, and OBS is not the most user-friendly software in the world, unfortunately. And the one that we picked is probably the most complicated one to use. I think he has his audio on. Okay, let's check to see if we have his audio. Okay, I'm actually going to text him right now. I don't think you have your audio on. Let's see if we could get him. Yeah, his audio is off. Yeah, his audio is off. Hold on a second. That should be working out. No, it's not. So, yeah, this kind of live streaming is different than actually going live. So let's see what we have here. Jamey, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Oh. Yeah, he can hear me. He can hear me now. Yeah. And I can hear him as well.
Okay.
And we are rolling. We're live. Jamey, thank you for your patience. Really appreciate it.
No problem.
And Jamey, so I was just sort of explaining here that like going live and live streaming the way that we do it is completely two completely different things. Like, just so you're aware, like going live on your phone, you just click live and then you start kind of talking to your phone, and that's right. Fun, has its place, no issues with it. I actually go live frequently personally. I think it's great. What we're doing is live streaming. We're using OBS, which is open broadcasting software. And that's a little tricky, and the one that we kind of picked is the most robust of all of them, but it's also the most complicated to use. So we kind of wanted all those robust features, but I don't know. Sometimes I think we should just go to one that's more user-friendly, because we're not even really using all the features. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, Jamey, I'm really excited to have you on the show. Thank you for coming on. And I wanted to, just kind of get started with, with you obviously are the founder of Get The Referral, right? And we're going to kind of go into that whole story, really. I think we've talked about it on the podcast, but with the live stream, it's a little different. I mean, there's no editing, no filtering, nothing. We're just gonna and people are watching live right now, so we're gonna kind of just go for it. And so yeah, let's kind of jump right in and kind of get into that story, because you weren't always a technology entrepreneur, right? You were what was your original? You were like a executive level for. Can you start to refresh my memory about what you did before?
Yeah, I'll take you way back to when I got out of the Marine Corps and went directly in working for AT&T, climbing poles and working in manholes. So I literally started at the bottom at AT&T and kind of worked my way up through the company over a 25-year span, working as manager, going into sales with Yellow Pages, if for those of you that remember Yellow Pages out there, and kind of worked my way up through the company. And in 2008,
I don't want to interrupt your story, but I got to tell you about the Yellow Pages, Jamey. I bet there's honestly a lot of people who don't know what that is, because we just did a video recently for Hail Trace, and we had to use the phone book, because back in the day you would go to the phone book and like look up a contractor and call them, and so we had to find a phone book as a prop for this video, and we literally could not find one like anywhere. And I went to a guy, like I thought maybe a restaurant might have one, so I like went to these restaurants, a restaurant close by, and I was like, hey, do you happen to have like a phone book, a Yellow Page? Like what is that? What are you talking about? And I was like, wow, this is like shocking. Like people genuinely do not know what the Yellow Pages are. And you were like selling ads, or you worked in labor, and then you got into sales, right?
Yeah. Starting inside sales, calling on small businesses, and talking about their inline advertising or their bold listing, and trying to sell them a quarter page ad. That time, that's where all small businesses went to consumers went to find small businesses. It was a tremendous product. And, at the time, I believe it was about a $6 to $6.5 billion industry, just for AT&T, so it was no small company. And, I kind of, worked my way up through the sales organization there, and really enjoyed doing everything. And one thing I always reflect back upon, because it actually affects my kind of career and what I do now with Get The Referral, is one of the things that they taught me early on. There was a 9-week training session. So think about this. I had a tool belt on, a hard hat, and I walk into a training class to start selling. I've got to kind of change my persona and everything. And it was a 9-week training class to teach me how to sell. And the first 2 weeks was just in classroom. And then they sent us out to the field for a week, believe it or not. And we knocked on doors for a week and just asked consumers or customers or homeowners, do they have a Yellow Pages? Would they mind grabbing it? And please show us how you use it. And so that kind of really set with me, because every single customer I talked to, oh yeah, I have a Yellow Pages. Yeah, this is how I use it. Oh, I use it all the time. Or, some use it as to prop up something, or, things like that.
So you were almost like acting you were like acting like a labor technician, but you're actually like selling the Yellow Pages. Is that right?
Yeah. So, well, they wanted us to just go out and just get understanding of how people use Yellow Pages. So what it really did is built the belief around the product. And that's really what I was able to ascertain, is people use the Yellow Pages, thereby small businesses grew because people found them in the Yellow Pages. And so that built a foundation around the product, and really understood, like, hey, we're really helping customers grow their businesses. And that was something that stuck with me through the years. I kind of worked through the organization, moved across the country a couple times. AT&T went through their divestiture back in '84, and then kind of brought it all back together in the '90s. And so there was a lot of change. And so I was able to navigate through all the change. But I always kept that philosophy as, man, we're helping customers grow their business, right?
Well, it sounds like that part was where they were teaching you back then to like understand your customer and understand the businesses that you're working with before you start selling them stuff, right? Like,
exactly.
I feel like these days it's hard. Like someone kind of approaches us and wants to like, or we I mean, the sales culture is like, okay, you've got a problem, I've got the solution, you're going to buy this, instead of like, okay, you've got a problem, but let's just, before I offer you some solutions, let's just take a step back. What is the problem exactly? Let's unpack this problem. Let's understand what's really going on, because there's a possibility that my solution may not even be the best solution for that person, you know? And if it's not, then it's, you know, I would say, you know, I'm hoping I'm probably being idealistic here, but if not, I would just kind of offer you the right solution without my best interest. That's even not my best interest in mind, but it's your best interest. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm telling you, the things I learned during that training, I to this day use, right? First of all, it's the understanding of the power of whatever I'm selling, right? Are we helping people? Are we helping companies grow? And if that answer is yes, great. And then how do we help them grow, right? So the thing that I learned, and I actually literally trained this yesterday to some of our sales folks, is the 7 steps to the sale, right? It's so simple. It's old. It's, you know, there's nothing new to it. There's nothing fancy, but it's just saying, you know, making sure that you have, you know, a process from a sales perspective, right? Do you have a good approach? You know, do you have a good 3-step agenda setting, right? Do you understand, you know, does a customer understand what they're going to be going through? Do they agree to that? So do you set up your agenda? Do you go through fact finding? And I think that's what you kind of touched on, is understanding the needs of that customer, right? That's the time when you sit back and you just listen to what they have to say, because that's going to give you the opportunity to see if your product is a fit. And then from there, once you identify their needs, then you go into your presentation. That's when you got to get excited about what we have to offer. And whether it was Yellow Pages or whether it's Get The Referral, you know, platform, you know, I want my people to be excited about that, right? Because now you have a problem, you have a need, we have the solution, and then it's matching those two up and making a recommendation based upon their needs, not based upon what we think they want, or because of these cool features and because you're going to have an app or because you're going to have a full page ad. You know, it's all about helping people and understanding their needs and fulfilling their needs with a solution. And that's what we do here at Get The Referral. And I learned that back in 1980 something, right? Dating myself, but back in 1980 something, I learned that through that process and understanding that if we help companies grow, we're going to be successful. And throughout the years with AT&T,
with sales, it's such a challenging thing though, because I mean, as a salesperson, you want to, you know, your personal income depends on whether you can land this sale, you know, and so when someone gets to talking and you want to like you know, listen to what's going on, you're also kind of having to balance that, like, okay, are we, you know, is this the right client for me? Is this the right customer for me? You know, should we be having these sort of conversations? And that the whole like pre-qualifying process can be so tricky. I mean, the whole like challenge from like very beginning, from like getting someone who's interested in your service all the way to the very end of closing them, that whole like discovery process, the pre-qualification process, the question and answer process, the listening process. It's such an art form, in my opinion, you know, and it does take a lot of training and experience and whatnot. And then you finally kind of start to learn what you're doing. And like humans are so unpredictable. They just kind of like, you know, catch you off guard again. And you kind of have to keep, you know, changing what you got going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt. And, you know, it's all about being, understanding what they're saying and listening. They always say listening is the most important part of it, right? Yeah. You have to have a great product and a solution. But if you listen, you're going to find a way that you can help those people. And, you know, throughout the years, that process of an organized sales process, it worked as me as a salesperson. It worked when I trained folks to sell Yellow Pages. It worked when I sold solar. I mean, I trained the same exact basic, process, 7-step sale process with a little bit of nuances from here to here as times change. But ultimately, you know, it's having a process, understanding, listening, and presenting a solution, not your product, not your features. Present a solution, and, you know, throughout it transcends time, as they say, right? And so, it really does.
Jamey,
because
did you learn that process like back then, and you've been using it like on all of that similar process, like the skeleton process on all the businesses that you've worked on like over the years?
Absolutely. I have not
Wow.
changed the outline, the skeleton per se, as you mentioned. I have
Wow.
not changed that process, and I have, been able to be very successful in different industries, build businesses to multi-million dollars, and off of that same structure, which is just it's just so it's the core of selling. And there's all sorts of books out there, and but ultimately it all comes back to the same process, right?
Mhm.
Setting up your agendas and listening, fact finding, presentation, recommendation, overcoming objections, and closing. I mean, it's that simple.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of, I said, nuances, and it changes over time. And now it's digital. Now it's, remotely, or, whatever the case may be. And there's so many tools out there that can help you with that. But the further we move away from a process, makes it more difficult to understand what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong.
Well, what about, just to be a little devil's advocate here? I mean, there's different like levels of like sales, right? Because there's like small ticket items, there's medium ticket, there's high ticket, and then there's like, super high ticket. Like I just did some work for a commercial roofing academy, which is they train people how to enter the commercial roofing industry. And those are pretty high ticket items. I mean, those roofs start at 150 grand, and then they go into the millions, and so that sales process, I mean, they were talking about how it can literally take, 6 years to like land one job. That's pretty nuts. And like, you can't really use this because I mean, I've gone through your sales process and it is very systematic. I mean, I worked with Cameron, and Cameron was like, boom, 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 boom to boom, to like got the credit card out,
Right.
and so, but with that, like, can you like, have you been in like, have you like where it's a 6 year sales process?
The difference is the sales velocity or sales cycle, right? So that's going to change based upon the product, right? And commercial roofing and, commercial solar. I mean, I sold, a megawatt to a hospital, right? So, I mean, when you think about that, how many channels I had to go through, but ultimately I had to identify what their needs were. What were they trying to accomplish?
Yeah.
And how can our system help them accomplish those goals? Now, I knew it was going to be a much longer approval process and financing process and all those things that go into a big commercial job, but I still, at the core of it, had to understand, what they needed, and I had to present to them what we can do to help them overcome or help them, accomplish their goals. And so once again, it probably comes in different stages throughout a long-term, project like that. But you still need to utilize, those steps, and because there's going to be objections, there's going to be, things that you need to overcome throughout that process. And you probably have to present it, 5 or 6 or 7 times, right? But every time that you do that to a different level of a decision maker, you're gaining more information and more knowledge. So your presentation changes slightly every time that you move up the ladder to the next person, because this person asked this question. So now you're more prepared, and now you're talking to the CEO of the company or the CEO of the building or whatever the case may be, and you've acquired all of this information. You understand thoroughly what their concerns are. You understand thoroughly what their needs are, and you're going to sit there and you're going to present with confidence that this solution is going to be the one that's going to help them achieve their goals. And, so ultimately,
Jamey,
you're going to just have to stretch that out.
Jamey, you've also sold like portions of your company. Is that right? Like you've sold entire businesses before, and you've also sold off like your interest in a business. Is that right?
Yeah. So back in 2017, excuse me, I started Get The Referral in 2014, and, I was doing it alongside running and, doing the solar, side of things with my 2 partners, which are also a commercial electrical company. And, in 2017, I decided to go all in on Get The Referral. And I moved the company down to San Diego and, kind of went through that process and sold back my interest to my 2 partners for the solar and electrical company, and, took control of Get The Referral, so that I can continue on my vision and my passion around helping companies grow, right? Solar was awesome. provides a great, salary and future for many, many folks. And it's growing tremendously right now. But I wanted to do something that I was really passionate around. And so, I could have stayed at the other company and kind of just rode the rest of my career out there. And I decided, you know what, I'm really passionate about this. I enjoy, working with SMB market. And that's when I decided to say, listen, I'm going all in. And I made that move in 2017. It was the best thing I ever did. And here we are, 4 years.
I want to unpack that transition, because I think there's a lot there. And before we get there, I want to see if we can discuss a little bit about like selling off your interest to your partners. Was there some negotiation there? Was that a process as well? Did that kind of go with like, were you sort of use a skeleton process that you've used over your lifetime, or was it a collection of dinners? Or can you kind of go into a little bit how that goes, like selling off your interest to partners? I mean, I feel like that's a kind of a rare thing in a way.
Yeah. It was, I was very, very fortunate, in the sense that, it was a family owned business. They when I brought solar to them in 2008, I kind of was welcomed into their family business, and, of 30 years prior, very successful electrical company, commercial. And I was, offered an opportunity to work with them and bring solar into their world. And so over the next several years, built a really good relationship with them, and, proved my value in building the company to 20 million plus a year, just in the solar side of things. So we had a lot of respect for each other. And they saw, what I was building, and they wanted to be part of it, but it wasn't their gig, right? It wasn't what they were passionate about. They were passionate about continuing to pass on their company to their sons and continue that family type of business. And so at the time when I moved the company to San Diego, they were fine with it, and I was just like, guys, I'm not part of that any longer. And you're not really part of this. So I think this is a really good time to say, listen, I'll go ahead and, let me, give you back your share, so that you can then, use that for your family members, as it grows, continues down the road, and passing it on. And so I was like, and in exchange, let's go ahead and, I want to take over, Get the Referral. And I wouldn't say it's all of a sudden a great, let's shake on it, type of thing. There was some negotiation back and forth, and understanding what they really wanted and what they really needed. And they understood what I needed, and there was negotiation back and forth. And, ultimately, we met in person only one time, did everything else over either email or not Zoom at the time, but over email or over the phone, and met in person one time, shook hands, signed the paperwork, and
wow.
We kind of went on our way. And it was, I never say it was a scary day. It was an exciting day for me, because I knew the future was bright. We had to kind of rebuild the company down in San Diego, hire new people. And so there was a lot going on at that time.
So Jamey,
but to me,
it
was an awesome experience.
The foundation, I feel like, of what you kind of mentioned on that is, for one, you had had a history with working with these folks that you sold it to, right? So that's kind of part of what helped you successfully exit, in a sense, right? And then you also had a lot of trust and respect between, they had trust and respect for you, you had trust and respect for them. So that helped with the exiting, right? And then you also understood their needs, they understood your needs, and like those sort of like three like huge, I think, factors, those three huge factors allowed for you to make a deal, sell your interests, and I guess buy their interest, or get the referral, and then exit that whole thing like successfully, right? I mean, it seems like it wasn't like intentional on your end, but you definitely did things right with having a good work history, the trust and respect, and then understanding them, they understanding you, and then you kind of are able to move on and exit successfully. I think it's important to like acknowledge those things. There's a lot of guys in the roofing, you probably know in the roofing industry, man, you hear it all the time. Well, I got screwed and this guy screwed me. And it's a whole like I got screwed thing is like such, it's like if you haven't been screwed, then you're like, you haven't been like, you know, baptized. It's like the baptized of like being in the roofing industry. I think it's because a lot of people don't have that. They don't have that working history. They don't have the respect. They don't have the understanding each other's needs. And then you have a bunch of problems because you don't have those things, you know?
Yeah. You know, as you mentioned it, I didn't think of it in those terms, but it was those, you know, 10 years leading up to that, what built, you know, that exit to make it, you know, go smoothly. It wasn't what I said in 2017. It was the things that we did together over the last 10 years, building that business and doing, you know, working together and trusting each other. And to your point, that was, you know, the underlying, you know, effects. And you do hear so many, you know, horror stories about partners and, you know, people taking advantage of each other. And, you know, and I was very, very fortunate, but it goes back to, you know, being honest, trustworthy, providing value, you know, showing up every day, and continuing to work hard every single day, for a common goal, not just for your own goals, but to work for a common goal. And that's how I take it here as well. You know, I don't just work for myself every day. I work for my team. We're up to over 40 employees here in San Diego, which blows my mind. You know, we started with 3 or 4 in 2017, you know, and, you know, we have a new class starting next week on the 7th, and it's going to get us to about 40, you know, employees. And that is just an incredible opportunity now to provide them with the framework and an opportunity to grow themselves and to help us grow the business together. But it's not all about me. It can't be about me, because if it is, you know, that's a dead end you're going to run into sooner or later. Just like the brick wall behind me. If I try to do this just for me, I'd be running into that brick wall sooner than later. So if we can, you know, embrace, you know, the future together, we're going to go much farther. And so, that's what Jamey, we're doing. We got so many talented people.
I want to kind of get your career progression in a, like, kind of understand. So you finished school, you went to the Marines, you learned a lot about teamwork, and that's kind of what you're describing now, sort of the teamwork and being a part of a larger organization. Then you kind of learned how, you know, working hard, like in the labor side of AT&T, and then getting into the sales side of AT&T and learning all about that. Eventually seeing an opportunity in solar, jumping in with creating a partnership with with a commercial solar electrician, you know, getting that company to 20 million at some point. I mean, you really know how to work hard, right? You've been working hard since 18. I mean, do you take vacations?
You know, I try to enjoy myself. I'm a golfer, so anytime I can get out there and golf, I'm gonna do that. But you know, I always use the philosophy. And while I was at AT&T climbing poles and stuff, I went to college at night to get my degree. And because I left my house when I was 17 and never moved back, you know, so I left for boot camp 2 days after high school, and I was still 17. And so I always had I didn't have time to go to college after high school. And so I wanted to get my degree, and, you know, I was going to school at night.
How come you went to the Marines at 17 though? That's like that's not even allowed. I thought you had to be.
Yeah, well, I had to have my mother sign.
And she signed off on that?
Yeah, she did. I convinced her. So I guess my sales career started back then.
Were you in trouble back then? Were you getting in trouble?
No, it wasn't. My brother was in the Marine Corps, and I was always wanted to do it, and so he kind of inspired me, and I kind of wanted to follow in those same footsteps. And
were you pretty good in high school? Were you like a good student? You kind of overall were pretty good. Okay. I was just so you know,
didn't get arrested, didn't get sent to reform school. I was, you know, in the top 30% of my class. So when I got out of, tell a quick story. I got out of the Marines, and I was saying, okay, what's next for me? And before I signed up for AT&T or started working for AT&T, I applied to Northeastern University in Boston to get my electrical engineering degree. And I go back to the day that I got my acceptance letter to go to Northeastern, which is a 5-year co-op school in Boston. And I was excited. And then my other brother called me and said, hey, by the way, AT&T's hiring you to go check it out. And then the next day I went down and I got the job and I never looked back. So
Wow.
that was kind of my trajectory. I could have been an electrical engineer, I guess, or whatever the case may have been. But I could not be happier with the experience that I garnered over the years at AT&T and what they taught me, and kind of the opportunity that was, given me. But it all led up to where we are today. And I'm still continuing to grow and learn and expand upon what I've learned. And I learn from my people now every day, and it's incredible. Like I'll have, one of the new employees come up with this idea. I'm like, wow, I never even thought of that. That's awesome. Let's do it, and things like that. So it's inclusiveness.
Jamey, tell us a little bit about Get the Referral, like the original like idea, because I can tell you, I've had the idea as well. I went searching for an app for my roofing company, several years ago actually. And I got quoted, I think I've told you about this. I got quoted $60,000, and I was like, this is insane. After I told them everything I wanted, which is basically what you do. I wanted something good project management. I wanted something branded. I wanted something that's customizable to my company. And I wanted something my customers could download and all that kind of stuff. Exactly what Get the Referral does. And they quoted me $60,000. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to have to wait on that for now. And then I come across you when I was watching, you on American Contractor show. I kind of came across you talking about Get the Referral, and I ended up like reaching out and that kind of thing. And so, can you tell me like the idea for Get the Referral, like the original idea, the inception of it? I love like learning about inception stories, and like it was when you were doing solar, right?
Yeah, in 2013. So we started in '08, early '08 with the solar. And, in the first couple of years in Fresno, California, Central Valley, I mean, we owned the market, man. We were killing it because there was no other competition. And so it was pretty easy to get work, in solar back then. And then all of a sudden, everything started happening. 2010, 2011, 12, we kind of got past the 07, 08 problems in the economy. And then it started hitting. So our cost per acquisition was going up. We did not have the market share that we had 2 years prior. And so in 2013, I says, there's got to be a better way to generate, opportunities. And I looked at our referral program, and, I had a Google sheet, and I had, we would write checks, and the checks would get lost, or the AP department forgot to write it. We get calls from customers. Hey, the sales rep said I would get paid, and sales rep never told us it was a referral. And there was all these issues, yet about 20% of our business was coming from referrals. Right. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, there's got to be a better way. And, I was kind of think about it. And then, one day I was on the golf course, one of my partners, one of my friends, and driving down the course, and, I point over to a house. I go, yeah, we're putting solar on that house over. He goes, yeah, I gave you the referral. I go, no, you didn't. I said, the builder did. He goes, no, I gave it. You got to pay me too. And I'm like, no, I got to pay the builder gave it. And that's when the light bulb went off. I went, there's got to be a better way. Mm-hmm. And I go, why don't I get an app? Why don't I build an app that's going to then, give our customers a way to send the referral, and we can track it, and we can do all these things that we now do manually through an app. And that's when the light bulb literally went off. That was in 2000. Late 2013.
You're literally on the golf course when you had the idea.
Literally on the golf course.
You know what's interesting about that, man? It's like the golf course it's like, for me, it's a very relaxing. I love playing golf also. It's such a relaxing time. I mean, unless I'm like with some guys who are competitive, then I start getting all competitive, but like in general, I have a very relaxing time, great time on the golf. And I feel like when you're in that relaxed state, you're kind of hanging out, you're having a good time. That's when like really good ideas can start to happen. Is that kind of your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. And I will tell you, that same exact hole, that same exact course is where I met my two business partners. Actually, one of my business partners for the solar and electrical company. That same exact hole. So that hole, he holds a lot of love for me. That's I have a lot of love for that hole in Fresno, because I found my business partners, and I came up with the idea if I Get the Referral on that specific hole. So it really goes back to that exact time when I went, wait a second, let's build an app. Yeah, and so that's when I went back to my two partners and said, hey, listen, what do you think of this idea? And they're like, well, check it out. So I started looking around and just exactly what we said, it was like 50 grand to build this very simplistic application. And I'm like, but we got to do it. I believe it's going to work. And so I convinced my two partners, let's spend 50 grand. Let's build this thing. And I will put my name personally out there to say that we will get, our ROI on that. And so
you took the lead on that build. You, cause I know I went to some software company. I went to different people to kind of about with my, I went to like a freelancer who was like, dude, this is good. I can't even do this, And then I went to like a software company and they were like, yeah, we can do it. No problem. You will get you a minimal viable product. I didn't want to do it as a business. I literally just want it for my company. But they were just like, we have to do this like process that we have, and just to get the process going, you need like 30 grand down. Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh. So that's about where it ended for me. Like, did you go to the software company? Did you find freelancers? Did you hire? Like, how did it go? Like, as far as taking the lead on the actual product?
It's so funny, Armando, because I did the same thing. I went and vetted out 3 different companies, software companies, and I ended up going with the cheapest one. Right. So the others one like 40, 50, 60 grand. Right. And then there was one that said we can do it for 10. I'm like, oh, wow, this is awesome. I mean, I literally worked with them for 3 days and they just didn't understand what I was trying to accomplish. Yeah. So I fired them right away. And I went back to the most expensive one because they had a good process. And I said, listen, I want to do this. And so I started working with that company. And there was an overseas team as well. They had some offices here in the US, but it was an overseas team. And
that's tough, right? The overseas working with people overseas is really hard. Like I know I do it as well. And like, it's, dude, I got to work at 11:30 at night, or I got to be up at like 6 a.m. one day or whatever, is that kind of what you had to do? Just juggle whatever time of day was going to work for them. You also had to kind of make it work for you.
Yes. And that, I still have an overseas team now, and that lives to this day because I was up last night at 11:30 talking to our team. So, it doesn't ever end. So, but I've become accustomed to it over the last 8 years, or 7 years. But yeah, so I started building the app with them. I mean, literally less than 30 days into it, the light bulb went off again, because I go back to my Yellow Page days. And for those that do know about Yellow Pages, it was a monthly subscription. Yeah. You would pay $200, $300, $500, $2,000 a month for your Yellow Page ad. I'm like, I want a business that gives me recurring revenue. Yeah. And that's when the next light bulb went off. So it was a couple of light bulbs, right?
Yeah.
Next light bulb is, now this is something that a lot of people can use. And I literally pivoted that day, and that was August 13th of 2014.
Where were you when that second light bulb went off? Do you remember?
When was it?
Where were you? Do you remember where you were?
I absolutely do. Yes, I was in my office in the solar company, and I was talking to the developers early morning, like 6:30. And we started talking. I go, what if we were to offer this to other companies? And they actually got the wheels turning and said, yeah, we can build a CMS product, and we can build this, and we can add it so there's a company code, and multiple companies can use it. And all of a sudden this thing started rolling. I went right into my partner and said, guys, we have a whole nother deal here. And literally within a couple of days, we formed another corporation, GetTheReferral.com, LLC at the time. Wow. And that literally was the day that I started. It was August 13th, 2000. So it was 7 years ago. And then we
Jamey,
pivoted.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you so much too. I apologize.
No problem. No, I talk a lot. So
it's all, no, because man, I just interviewed Ben Hodson. He's a co-founder of Job Nimbus. And so what's interesting about your story and some parallels with his is that Job Nimbus wasn't like all of a sudden he's like, oh, this CRM for contractors, like idea. It was a development like yours, he was a tech guy, for many years. And then he went and met with this like this guy who was doing some like CRM stuff, just dabbling in it. And then he was like, oh, this is kind of cool, and he had this, that's when the first idea was for Job Nimbus. He was like, I wonder if we can make this just a little bit better. And it was a very, 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 a mild kind of idea. And then he kind of kept working on that, and him and his friends just for free were dabbling with like this software of CRM software. And he was like, this is kind of cool. And then he like showed it to a guy, and the guy to some like roofing contractor, and the roofing contractor said, this is like when the inception happened. He said, the problem with CRMs, there basically is like none that's any good. They all suck. And that's when Ben kind of realized when he said they all suck. He was like,
Right.
I think ours is really good. And that was like the inception. They started kind of like developing Job Nimbus. And it was actually had a different name before Job Nimbus. And then they finally kind of developed that one. But it's kind of cool with ideas, right? I'm an idea guy, you know, I love ideas. And so like, it's kind of interesting how you can like come up with one and then you think it's really good and you kind of keep working on it. And then like it can, you know, develop and like evolve into something even bigger and greater, which is kind of what happened with yours. And so like that was the second light bulb is like, that you've been working for 8 years on that now at this point, right?
Yeah, and I will tell you, not without trials and tribulations. I use that term all the time. You know, it starting a company from a, you know, there's nothing else out there like it, and you know, breaking into markets. I mean, there's trials and tribulations again to go through, but it's just staying steady on what we do. Like I said at the very beginning, we help businesses grow. As long as we're doing that, we're going to be okay. And that's always been my driving force, my North Star that I kind of focus on is, are we helping businesses grow?
Yeah.
The answer is yes, then good. We're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Every decision we make, does it help our customers grow their business? And if it's a yes, then we're going to do it, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just keeping focused on that North Star and making sure that, you know, every decision we make is not based off of an individual preference or an individual need. It's collectively as a company and as our customers, you know, needs, not ours personally.
So once you had the idea, you incorporated Get The Referral. Did you start hiring people right away, or how it was like then?
No, I mean, you can see my office here. It's a pretty cool office. We have you know, whole floor here, right by Petco Park in downtown San Diego. So cool spot.
Nice. Wow.
My first office was literally a closet that we, you know, morphed into an office that I shared with one other person who was my, you know, kind of manager from the solar side of things. I brought her along.
Okay.
And for the first year or so, it was just her and I kind of just figuring things out and bumping into each other in a closet with two desks face to face, you know, and then we actually moved up into the attic, you know, where we got enough space for like 6 desks. And then we started hiring some folks. And so we've come a long way. You know, the last year it proved to be, you know, really, I wouldn't say challenging, but definitely something that I think helped us come together as a company, you know, having to work remotely. And, you know, a lot of the folks did want to get back to the office. We do have now a hybrid, you know, work from home on Fridays. And if you need to work from home during the week for whatever reason, we have flexibilities around that. And, but cool. People enjoy, you know, being in the office. We have the ping pong, the pool tables, the popcorn machine, massage chair, and, you know, kind of just a kickback room. And
you guys, hiring for a marketing guy by chance?
Our new director of marketing starts next Tuesday as well. So.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Jamey, so like, I got to meet, actually another Jamey Siminoff. He founded Get The Referral. I met him several years ago, actually.
Not Get The Referral, but
sorry, he founded The Ring. Jamey Siminoff founded The Ring doorbell.
Wow, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I got to meet him in person. It was crazy, man. He was just like doing a talk for probably like 10 of us in this little room. Nobody even really knew who he was. And I'm just like, oh my! I'm like in the front row, like listening, holding on to every word he said. And then afterwards, he just like standing around, hanging out, like taking questions. And I went and like talked to him for a bit. And I was like, what was it like, man? And so he did kind of talk about, man, like, I can't tell you like how, because he had just sold it to Amazon for literally $1 billion, like $1 billion. Crazy. And and he's like, he was like, did you ever come close to like bankruptcy? He's like, oh my God, dude, yes, like all the time, dude. We're like constantly like on the verge of bankruptcy. And he's like, that's where I learned about culture. He's like, because if you have a good company culture with people, he's like, I literally had people working and I had missed payroll sometimes, dude. Like I had to miss them, but we had such a strong bond that like I got him on the next one, you know, thank God. And you know, and then there was times where, you know, he talks about for his the trials on his side was like not seeing his kid grow up, dude. Like, you know, for 10 years he was working on that thing and I could sense the sadness. He was like, I haven't really seen my kid. Like I try to take him on trips, but I pretty much missed that, you know, and it was kind of like, it's like, and that's something I regret. I mean, even $1 billion, even selling it to Amazon will never make up for that. So, we have, but he's still married and obviously has a very awesome life.
Yeah.
But, that is kind of a big regret for him. And I think that's part of the trials. And so, what was there, during that time, is that kind of how bad it got? Were you kind of where Get the Referral was struggling to survive, almost on the verge of bankruptcy, or were it different kinds of trials?
Yeah. So the good thing about it is I started this later in my life. I was 49 when I kind of started, right? So I had an opportunity to have some really good experience. My children were, just about getting out of college. And so I had, I was at a later part of my life. And so, work, just became the norm for me because I worked hard throughout the years. And so during this time frame, it was all bootstrapped, right? So up until January of this year, we got funding in January of 2021. Okay. But up to that point, it was 100% bootstrap. So wow. The one thing that I'm really proud of and, is saying that I never missed payroll once. Because that was so important to me not to ever miss payroll. Now I missed my paycheck a bunch of times. I had to put money back into the company again and again and again, and had to make sacrifices in order to make payroll. Maxing out credit cards, maxing out loans, cabbage loans, everything that's possible. I did. For a small business, and we got through all that. We had because I thought, to me, the culture is one thing, but being able to pay your people and making sure that they feel secure and they're going to get a paycheck the next week was really important to me. So I focused extremely, intently around making sure payroll was met. So, unsimilar to Jamey, but, the other Jamey, and, but definitely feel the stresses and feel the need. And the great thing about it is one of my daughters actually works for us, and she's been here for 4 years now. So I get the pleasure to work with one of my daughters. She's in sales and just took over the strategic partnership management position. Okay. And my other daughter, guess what, works in software sales, just not for dad. She works for Reich, which is just bought by Citrix for a couple $1 billion. So she's selling software at another company. Nice. But I, have the really great opportunity to share those experiences, at least with one of my daughters, and, enjoy that part of it for sure.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. You kind of started at 49 because you started to Get the Referral at 49, right? Because a lot of people think you got to be this sort of like, in your 20 something to start a company as a technology business. But I think I read an article somewhere like the average age for a lot of successful business owners and entrepreneurs is somewhere around like 45 or something like that. Like, and a lot of people don't start, a successful company till later in life. And I know for me, my experience is that like, I had to kind of I've made a bunch of mistakes and continue to make them. And then like, I'm 43, so I feel like now that I have that experience, I can stop making the mistakes and at least not make them as bad as before. And then I learn from that, and kind of keep moving forward. I think that helps, because I feel like there are a lot of people, young people especially, who just kind of like have this idea and they're like, okay, let's do it, and then it's kind of like maybe work somewhere first. I mean, I worked at my old roofing company for 7 years before I went out on my own, and then, so yeah, anyways, man, that's a really fascinating story. And so, yeah, I mean, so at this point, Get the Referral is this custom branded app for, is it just contractors? I mean, it's anyone, right? I mean, I know my video business is even getting one, but like you can do it for anyone. But you're niching down into like contractors or even roofing contractors and solar. Like, what is the ideal market for Get the Referral?
We are focusing on home services because it's such a great fit, there's already people that are doing, paying for referrals and have these antiquated, processes that we can help them really quickly. So there's a lot, I don't want to say low hanging fruit, but there's no low hanging fruit, but there's a lot of opportunity in the home services, and, technology is just at the brink of breaking out into home service businesses right now. And so, a lot of these younger folks that were working in the trades are now becoming business owners, and now they're millennials and they're, in their 30s and they understand technology. So they're starting to really, become the owners of these businesses. And like I go to these shows and talk to this, 28-year-old kid, and he has a, $10 million a year business that he started, in roofing. I'm like, holy cow, that's just awesome,
Yeah.
So, but they understand technology. So we love the home services, primarily roofing and solar. Solar's number one as far as number of customers. Roofing is number two. And then we kind of go off into other areas, security, moving, insurance folks. So there's a lot of one-offs here and there.
Okay.
I just had a call this morning with a really large, they have over 125 sales reps, window, home remodeling contractors that's signing on. We just brought on another big solar company. They have over 600 sales reps. So there's a lot of those types of companies out there that we're working with now. And so there's so much opportunity right now there. We're focusing the next probably 24 months in home services. But we also service auto dealers, right? So we have an auto division that, sells our product to auto dealers. And so that's starting to pick up and we're starting to see some traction there. So there's a lot of verticals we can kind of pivot into.
Yeah.
But because, and one of the key things to what we do is all of our salespeople, account executives, they have experience in either door knocking or understand solar or they understand roofing. So we look for those things so that they can talk the talk, so they can understand what the roofer goes through and actually, assimilate themselves to the situation and help them, or be able to understand what their needs are and ask the right questions versus, blindly asking 5 questions and not really knowing what the heck they're talking about. So, those are some things that we're focusing. And as we get into auto dealers, as we get into other industries, we'll do the same, right? We'll bring in people that understand auto, people that understand insurance and things like that.
Well, I want to give you a little insider tip on an industry that is very, very underserved at this point, and it's kind of what I've seen so far is what the roofing industry was. I want to say 8 years ago, before Anthony Del Medico started to kind of consolidate, all the roofers into Storm Ventures Group, like that conference and stuff. And it's the restoration industry. Are you familiar with that industry?
Oh yeah. We go to the Win the Storm and definitely, those are, I consider them all home services, kind of things.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, definitely. Yeah.
Restoration is a little more, even more niche, man, because they actually form relationships with insurance companies and these restoration people, like they just get referrals from the insurance companies, but they need it. And they have conferences separate from like roofing. They have one called the Experience in Vegas, in a couple weeks. And, I'm going to be going to it, because I want to get in a little bit more with this restoration industry. It's kind of a very interesting industry that is extremely underserved, and the technology is not there, and a lot not there. So I think it's. I just wanted to kind of pique your curiosity on the restoration industry, because the roofing industry is great. Obviously, there's just like so much going on in roofing now. It's like it's kind of a vibrant industry. I feel like there's technology players, there's a lot of people doing a lot of things in the roofing industry, but the restoration is a little more underserved. So, but yeah, Jamey, hey, I think we're going to kind of start to wrap things up, and I really appreciate you coming on the show and being a part of the show and supporting us and kind of helping us kind of get through this. And tell Cameron that I know I'm probably like the worst customer, because I have not filled out his form yet, and I need to kind of do that. So I'm going to actually get done here and get that done. And I'm also going to be, just kind of like sharing some more of your story all over the place. So really appreciate your support, and can't wait to keep in touch and see what else Get The Referral does. Gosh, such an enormous opportunity for Get The Referral. It's just crazy right now. So yeah, thank you again, Jamey. We will see you next time. And anyone who need information, go to their website. Go to their social, and we will, keep in touch with Get The Referral. So thank you again, Jamey. Have a good rest of the day.
Appreciate it, Armando. I really, it was fun talking. I love telling the story because I'm very passionate around it. So thank you for giving me a stage to kind of share my story, because hopefully it helps somebody along the way to see some insight in what they.
I think it does, Jamey. It really does, because your story. You're just so hardworking, but I feel like your hard work has really been because you were so passionate and so into what you were doing. And once you kind of weren't, like you were, when you kind of like discovered Get The Referral and you weren't really into solar, you moved on to Get To The Referral. But for 10 years through solar, you grinded out probably 60, 80 hours a week. And then you kind of found Get The Referral. Now you're doing it again, 60, 80 hours a week for the most part. And I just, it's inspiring. So I think a lot of people are going to feel that.
Thanks so much. I appreciate the opportunity. We'll talk to you later.
Okay, talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Guys, we're going to cut to a quick break, and I will be right back with our final thoughts.
Waste my time. Don't say I never told you. Go, get out of my mind. I refuse to be a soldier. Waste my time. Don't say I never told you. Go, get out of my mind. I refuse to be a soldier.
Okay, guys, so I'm back. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Contractor Weekly, and I want to just kind of end on the final thought for today. You know, I think is something that Jamey kind of touched on, which is to, you know, I think like when you're, you know, the whole idea of him kind of providing 10 years of value to a company. You know, he worked, became partners with Solar, and, you know, for 10 years provided that value, did really well. And then when he discovered Get The Referral, he kind of like transitioned in a very like thoughtful way, you know, kind of like, you know, brought the idea to them, allowed them to even become partners and Get The Referral, and then allowed them to, you know, kind of, you know, sell their interest to him, you know, and then he sold his interest to them. And I think just kind of having that, like that trust and respect and that like relationship over the years allowed him to successfully exit and go in and get the referral. And so, you know, in the roofing industry, you hear so many people like, hey, I got screwed, or someone's getting screwed. And, you know, I think it's important to just know that, you know, to have those relationships, to nurture those relationships, to have trust and respect on both sides of things, and really kind of focus on that. So with that, we're gonna end the show today, and I will see you guys on the next episode. We have some more really exciting guests. I've got Jonathan Sherwood coming up pretty soon. I keep trying to nail him down. The guy's so dang busy. He just won't give me a date, but I will work on that. And we have other exciting